In this lesson, we will learn the elementary functionality of Adobe XD. We will be talking about artboards and layers. I will open Adobe XD first. This is something like a home screen of Adobe XD. You can see here on the top that there is a way of selecting artboard type. These individual artboards represent different screen sizes of different devices. You can choose from different versions of mobile phones, tablets, web interfaces, or even you can select your own custom size. In this case though, we will use the web version. Now the full interface is opened, and as you can see, it's divided into 4 different parts. You could say there are 4 different columns. The first column on the left has various different icons, which we will describe later. Then there is the second column, which is used for displaying layers, so it's layer palette. And it is also used to show you various artboards you're working with. There is the big middle column, which has your artboard in it. This is the place where you will be actually creating your designs. And then there is the column on the very right, which is always changing depending on the element selected in the artboard. So it's showing you the settings available to an element which is selected. But do not worry, we will go through all the functionality slowly. We will start by saving the document so we don't lose any changes we make. Select the Save As from the very top left menu, define a file name, choose a location on your computer, and save the document. Okay, great. So as we said in the middle part, there is an artboard we're going to work with. The artboard was assigned some default name, so we should change that. Let's change it to homepage. It is very easy to duplicate the artboard, so you can just right-click on it, copy, and paste it. Why is this important? Well, every application has different views. By views, I mean registration view, profile view, task list view. You get the idea. And for every single view, you will be using different artboard. So as you can see, now we have 2 artboards to work with. They are called homepage and homepage 1 because we duplicated the homepage. So let's change the name to something more meaningful. I will call it registration page. Now you can see on the artboards panel on the left, both of these artboards presented, homepage and registration page. During any design project, you will have loads of artboards presented here, and you can easily switch between them depending on which view you need to work on. Now you understand how the artboards work, so we can remove the second one and concentrate on the first one. We will start creating some objects so we get better understanding how the layers work. We start with creating a rectangular object. But don't worry, we will go through all these objects separately. I'm just using them so you understand the logic behind the layers. Okay, I just quickly change the color to black and move it a little bit. Then I create ellipses by selecting the ellipsis tool. I'll change the color to gray. And lastly, I will take the polygon tool and draw a triangle. And I'll change the color to red. As you can see now, we have 3 objects on the artboard. And also we have 3 layers in the layer palette on the left. That means that every single object sits on its own layer. This is very important to understand. Now we position the objects on the artboard on top of each other so they slightly overlap. As you can see, the rectangular object is positioned at the very bottom. The reason is that if you look at the layer palettes on the left, the rectangular layer is positioned at the very bottom of the layers palette. Once we simply grab the rectangular layer and position it above the ellipse, you can see that the rectangular object on the canvas is now overlapping the ellipse because of the layer's position. Now I will simply change it back and forth so you get the idea. Now you understand that the position of the layers on the layers palette is very important. Now I will show you how you can quickly duplicate an object. You can use the right-click option, so you can simply use the Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V or Command-C, Command-V, depending if you're on a Mac or Windows. Now we have duplicated the polygon object, so you can see two layers called polygon on the layers palette. But you can't see the second polygon on the canvas yet, because they are positioned on top of each other. So when you move it to the right, now you can see them both. I will change the color to blue so it's even more obvious. Okay, now I will show you how you can group layers so you can move them together and also give them a separate name. You would simply select the first layer and the last layer while holding a left shift, so all the layers get highlighted, and then use the right click to select the group option from the menu. The group is called group 1, so it doesn't really make sense, so I will change that and I will call the group shapes. It is also very simple to take one layer from the group and position it outside the group by simply dragging and dropping the layer. When I move the grouped layers now, you will see that only 3 layers are moving, while the last one is still stuck in a place. Quite often you will need to turn off the visibility of the layer, which you can simply do by clicking the eye icon in the layer palette. In other cases, you might need to protect a layer, which you can do by clicking the lock button. This way you can't really change the properties of the layer or even move the layer. When you decided you don't need the layer anymore, you can simply delete the layer by selecting the layer and from the right-click drop-down, select the delete option. So this was a quick overview, artboards and layers. Now you understand how you can create an artboard, duplicate it, rename it, and remove it. How you can create, duplicate, rename layers. You now understand why the position of layers on the layer palette is crucial, and how it affects the visibility of the content on the artboard. You also understand how to group layers, how to change the group name. You also understand how to protect a layer, how you can turn on and turn off its visibility. These are all elementary features which you will be using on a daily basis as an application designer. So these are very important.